Hi, everybody. Welcome to NiteLife Exchange. I'm Scott Barbarino, if you didn't know that. And we are here in New York City, and the award season is upon the cabaret community. And here at NiteLife Exchange, the award winner that I have with me that we meet and we work and we do this is Mr. Tony Javits. So, Tony, come on, Tony.
Hey Scott, how you doing today?
I'm good. And actually, the Mac Awards are coming up. And Tony, we got one of those 2 years ago during the pandemic. You got it there. Look at you. You got it right there.
Well, how could I not? Ooh, wait a second though. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can actually see
And
it.
that was for Piano Bar Live that we were doing. We started doing prior to the pandemic, and then became vital during the pandemic. And
Yeah.
I think we helped a lot of people get their sea legs, to be able to get online when we were all stuck at home. So, with that
Yeah.
said, the Mac Awards are upon us. They're coming up. There we go. It's the 39th annual. I will let you all know I was at the first one, and I'm still here 39 years
You are
later.
the Mac OG.
Well, yes, and there are stories about the first one, and whatever you hear, believe. It was an interesting night. Ricky Ritzel can tell you good tales as such. So, with all of that said, they're coming up on April 15th, 7 p.m. The Symphony Space. You need to go and buy tickets for the Mac Awards because I know it's going to be a good house, going to be sold out because the Mac organization, now under the tutelage of, we have a new Mac president, Julie Miller, and she's been doing some really fine work to rebuild and keep the organization growing. Not that it wasn't building all along, but there's some initiatives that have taken place, including they have now a choir. They're doing a group choir. So this is all good stuff, but we're ready now to actually delve into a good deep dive here because we've got an incredible category. We have the four nominees for New York debut cabaret in 2024 all together with us today here. We're going to meet each one of them and we're going to find out what's so, but this is a great category. What an amazing group of women are in this group. So let's start with, we're going to show a little video first of our first person that'll be coming on. The nominee that's Eden Casteel. So, Tony,
Yep.
let that rip.
Welcome to Ladies' Night.
I can hold a note so purely that no one else would dare. But let some bitch just belt it out and you forget I'm there. Why, she's funny. Belting's funny. So listen up, Miss Mixie Mix Soubrette. Go get your laughs, but I know that's all you're gonna get. 'Cause no matter how hard you try, you'll never fucking ever sing this.
Clear
Woo, that
soprano.
was note just bumped you right to the center, I tell you.
Clear soprano. Hi, Eden. Welcome
Hi.
to Nightlife Exchanges.
Hi, Scott. Hi, Tony. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being with
We're,
us.
we're really happy to have you. What a great show. I didn't know exactly. I mean, I knew that the show was about Madeline Kahn, and I didn't realize what a team you put together to put this show together. What a bittersweet story she had, which I kind of knew. I had seen her. I actually saw her on the 20th Century. Saw all of that craziness in those days that was going on. Of course, I actually the other day went to the Paris Theater and saw on a big screen Blazing Saddles, which, so Madeline was a person that really touched my generation and obviously has gone on and touched you. What was your first experience when you realized that she was as special as she was and that you wanted to maybe do a show about her?
I didn't realize I wanted to do a show about her until pretty recently, about 2 years ago. But the first time I ever saw her was on a beer commercial when I was 16. And she was promoting Michelob. And she started talking about it, and she said, well, haven't you ever wanted to have it all? Michelob Light has it all, superb taste and a less filling beer. And then she did. Is having it all the answer? Is it really so wonderful to be wealthy, glamorous, and have an unbelievable singing voice? Yes! And she did that note. And in 30 seconds, I thought, okay, she's beautiful, she's glamorous, she's famous, and she sings high notes. I want that. So then it took me a few decades to figure out how to do it. So cabaret was the right place to do that. I've been trying to be here for a long time.
Yeah, and you put together a great team. I mean, having Faith Prince involved in any project right off the bat is huge. And then you've got you brought in Roderick Ferguson, who's a recent MAC Award winner.
Yes.
Who came in and gave you some additional material. And
he
then
did. Rod actually co-wrote it with me. The process was I met Faith at the St. Louis Cabaret Conference online in 2021 when things were still locked down. And it was a really great experience. And even though we were sad we couldn't be in person, it was a gift that for 8 Saturdays in a row, we got to coach with these world-class people. So it was Faith, Karen Mason, Christine Andreas, and Jeff Harner. And every Saturday for 3 hours, there were 8 of us, and we would just listen to each other and we would coach. And I think a lot of us developed shows out of that experience. But I really connected with Faith because we both went to University of Cincinnati, the College Conservatory of Music. So she understood where I'd come from, and I understood where she came from. So
That's
I asked her
wonderful.
to direct, and then she brought Rod on. And then I already had a friendship and a relationship with Jim Rice, who's based here in the East Coast. And then she brought on Bobby Pico. And so, yeah, I got a dream team.
I'm curious about when you brought the project to Rod. Was he familiar? Did he know who Madeline Kahn was right off the bat, or did he have to do a little bit of a research on that?
I think everybody knows a little bit about her, and
Right.
he was one of those. So anybody can rattle off Young Frankenstein, Blazing Saddles,
Right.
and maybe a little bit of the Broadway things, but they always think of her and Mel Brooks in the same breath. So he knew that much about it. But Faith and Rod both stressed to me that they wanted to hear my take on it. So the first draft of this, and I'm sure all the other nominees would agree, is that the first draft of your show is like a term paper or a Wikipedia entry. And
Right.
then over time, you'd make it more personal. And they kept on saying, what do you think of it? What do you think of it? So after I wrote, the Wikipedia entry, then I wrote a long diary entry of my own life. And then we gradually started putting the two together. And I was stunned to realize how much Madeline had really been guiding my performing career from that first time when I was 16.
And absolutely, and you did bring yourself. You're not lost in the show at all. You're where you're coming from is definitely there, and you've had, you've grown so much in life from where you started, which people will find out from what you say and tell during the show. But now let's talk about the last couple of years working with this since you started working on this project. What is something that you really learned that you think is invaluable for your continued moving in the direction of shows? And
I love this. This is so much fun. I mean, I was an opera singer. That was my major. I was going to be an opera singer. And I have done a whole bunch of different things. I'm a voice coach, I'm a piano player, church musician, all those things. And I love all those parts, but I think I was always heading towards this. And I've done a couple of cabarets, but there were nothing like this. And I give such credit to Faith and Rod for really showing me how to put one of these together. And also Jim and Bobby. So much experience in those 4 people, and they just gave it all to me. I'm so grateful for that. Madeline herself never got to do a cabaret. So I feel like I'm doing this for her and for us as well. And what I've learned is it's an extremely personal art form, and that can be really scary, but also exhilarating that you finally get to really say what you think, but you have to think about it before you say it.
right.
And exhilarating for the audiences too, to
Yes.
be that personal.
And if you don't do it, if you hold back, they know.
Yeah.
So you have to be willing to go there, and you have to really examine your heart, and you also have to have, thick skin, nerves of steel.
These are all good things to know going in, and I think that a lot of people have the ability to put themselves on a stage, not putting themselves their story, but having something to another story to follow with, but showing themselves. So, because I'm not a big fan of this is me and this is what I've done in my life. Unless you've had a really exciting life, that's not a good cabaret show. That's not a good way to start it. But your performance and how you handled it and the respect that you gave to the material and to Madeline Kahn really made it something special. And I hope now, do you have any dates coming? I know that you commute to New York.
Yes,
You're
I'm
up
here
in
Southern
Providence, Rhode Island.
I'm in Southern Rhode Island. Yeah, and that's a great place. We don't have a lot of cabaret here. We do have it one day a month, and it's wonderful, run by Ida Zecco. I go up to Boston. I play at Club Cafe. I'm one of their piano players as well. So I do a show, and then I host an open mic. I'm actually going to the Blue Room in Cranston, Rhode Island tonight to host an open mic and to play piano bar. And I've been talking with the people at Don't Tell Mama saying, hey, do you ever take a night off?
Yeah.
So because
cool.
I love doing
Well
that
played.
too. And that's so much fun. So that's what I'll be doing next. But I put my link tree right there. So if you want to see everything that's coming up with me, that's where you can find out all about it.
So you're considering you'd like to come in and sub in and the piano bar at Don't Tell Mama and have some fun, huh?
Yeah.
Take a
Wonderful.
note, people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now I happen to know several people from the Providence area, from Rhode Island, because my day job is I'm the artistic director at Ellen's Stardust Diner, and we had one person come down from Providence. I think they went to Berkeley, to Boston for their training and all. And then they brought another one. And then what a great spot. People don't realize the amount of talent that's coming out of that area. And then also, by the way, those us old timers here will know Rainey Cole, who worked at the Duplex and many places and had some great shows. Along the way in cabaret, was also from Cranston. So,
and of course we had Mike Renzi.
Mike Renzi, yes, and
blessed memory.
Yeah, and Nicholas King is from next door and all. So
yeah.
That's wonderful. So listen, we're gonna keep bringing on now. You do have the keyboard over there. While you're here with that, you have a little something you wanna knock
keyboard?
out. Let's see if we can audition you for that gig.
Okay. On the spot? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I'm on the NiteLife Exchange show with Scott Barbarino, and Tony Javette is in the house. I'm on the NiteLife Exchange show. I'd like to play piano. Thank you for the opportunity. There.
Hey.
Nailed it.
Yeah. You have to be ready to roll. I know those piano ballrooms very well.
That's true.
You got to be, no matter what comes in, anything can walk in and be there with you, and you got to play it. So, thanks so much. You'll be back a little bit later. We're gonna meet the other nominees from this category. But what a pleasure, and what a really, really, matter of fact, I so enjoyed your show that I saw it twice, and I could see it again. So,
thank you, Scott. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eden.
We'll see you soon.
So, Tony.
So, Scotty.
Our next nominee is I got the release for the show. It intrigued me because it touched on things that have to do with celestial things like the universe and the stars and all of that. And I went to see this nominee, Camille Diamond. So let's take a look at Camille now, and then we'll be back with her after the video.
I am a Sagittarius, which is known for an especially warm and sunny personality. Thank you. And also for being especially, optimistic. And it's true that whenever things have gotten kind of dark and weird, I have always been able to lean into and count on gratitude, knowing that things can always get worse. I mean, 2020 wasn't just notable for the big things, A lot of little terrible things happened in 2020 that you might not even remember. When you think you've hit the bottom and you're feeling really low, you mustn't be discouraged. There's always one step further down you can go. Poland invaded the Czech Republic. Oops. When you're lying in the gutter, feeling just a bit unsure, just think about tomorrow. You could be lying flat rat face down in the sewer. Remember murder hornets? Don't be afraid of a little raindrop. That don't mean nothing but. Just remember one little raindrop started the Johnstown flood in Pennsylvania. When you're lying on a park bench, eating grass cause you've no dough, your luck may change manana. You could be 6 feet under, helping it grow. So just remember when you're lower than low, there's always one step further down you can go. Just imagine you are a fabulous young musician in Bolivia, and you finally make the national orchestra tour of your dreams, only to get stranded during COVID in a haunted mansion surrounded by wolves. Dance break.
Hi, Camille.
Hi.
I was watching that dance break. Nice to have you on.
It's nice
How
to be
are
here.
you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. Oops, let me
Yeah,
get in the frame.
That's a
Yeah.
kind of optimism I can get behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind
Yeah.
of in this day and age makes perfect sense.
hmm
Be happy where you are. Hey,
Yeah.
so thanks for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Congratulations, getting this nomination. It's what an incredible group that you're in.
Yeah, I'm very
Um,
honored to be here, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you worked really hard. I mean, firstly, I loved your voice and the singing, the choices. Your director Lenny Watts
Yep.
and Stevie Ray Watkins. You're in really superb hands to put
Yeah.
together a show.
Yeah.
This was your first cabaret show that you
Yeah. This
have
is
done.
this was my debut. Yeah, it's funny. I was working on something in 2020. Haha. You
Yeah,
know, yeah. So
came
it
to a fast
there
stop.
was a
Did it?
pandemic, and then everything changed, and yeah. So
Right.
and this idea came.
And so they took you and worked with you, and you brought them the general idea to them.
Yeah, Lenny runs those wonderful classes with Signasium. So I during the pandemic, in my grand search for artistry and community, really,
Right.
I found Signasium. I took these classes, and that's really how the partnership began. I just loved working with him, and I loved working with Steven too.
And from that, you also then got involved in some of the competition. So you did Mama's Next Big
That's
Act,
right. That's right. Yeah.
and you were a semi-finalist
Yep. With Nicole.
for the Tomatoes Got Talent.
Yep. Yeah, that was in
And
2019. Yeah, it was a good time.
those experiences on stage,
hmm
and then you took it to so working with Stevie Ray Watkins. So some of the things that he does that are really well done are his
hmm
mashups.
Yes.
So I'm just curious. So the mashups that you had with him, how did you work with him? Was that a very collaborative process with him and Lenny and you, all three of you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing that I love about working with both of them is they will take ideas that you come up, like for instance, one of the mashups, the Lion King, Circle of Life with A Child Is Born, that was something that I woke up one morning and just kind of heard in my head and went, oh, and then I just started writing it down. When I brought it to Lenny and Steven, what Steven is so great about, just really listening to what you have to say and how you want to put it together, and then he orchestrates it so beautifully, beyond your
Yeah.
wildest dreams. That was my that was my experience of working with him. It's just this perfect collaboration where he didn't bring a lot of ego to the table. He was just like, oh, is this what you would like? And then it's more beautiful than what you even hear in your head. So I was
Right.
really grateful for that.
And that's having seen the show, that's a wonderful, really wonderful moment.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Yeah. Circle of Life is Circle of Life. But
Yeah.
the presentation that you had of it and the mashup, the doing the two songs together was.
Yeah, I don't think I ever would have thought of doing Circle of Life for real. It's one of those things you just kind of hear one day and go, oh, okay.
Right.
Mhm.
And speaking of Circle of Life, during your performance, you had a special guest join you on
I
stage,
did.
and that
I
was your
did.
daughter.
hmm
And
Yeah.
has she been bitten by the cabaret bug also?
Yeah, well, she loves to sing. She was one of those kids that, sang herself to sleep at age 2. So she's always sort of had that in her. She's currently studying musical theater. And when I was thinking about doing the show, I wanted to say something about being a parent, because no matter how dark or weird things have gotten for me, I've always found joy in my kids. I mean, it's not perfect. Like, it's, any parent will tell you it's not
Right.
perfect, but there was always like a subset of joy that goes along with being a mom, especially with, my relationship with my two children. And I wanted to somehow bring that into the show without it being sort of, cheesy or saccharine, or, the way it can have the danger of being. So I heard Happier Than the Morning Sun, and it's one of those songs that you hear. And for me, I just started to, really kind of tear up, because it sounded exactly the way being a parent felt to me. So then I thought, well, I'd like to put this in the show, but it really should be a duet, because it has that, that lovely moment in the song where the two voices, blend together. And I thought, well, this isn't really, Steven's a great backup singer, but it didn't, it seems like it should be a female voice. And I went, hey, my daughter sings. Wow. And so then I asked her if she'd like to do it. She said
Perfect.
yes. And we had a great time.
So the one thing that threads the show together are, is your experience with the astrological signs and the planets and all of such. And the title of the show, tell me let's tell the audience the name of the show. Tony, bring it up on the bottom so we can see.
It caught me.
Over the Moon on Pluto Transit.
Now, can you explain what exactly is Pluto Transit? Like, how do you define that, and why was that the choice?
Well, it's important. I know. So basically, the whole reason for doing the show was 2020. I know 2020 was crazy for everybody. It absolutely was. For me, it seemed so beyond pandemic insane that I got desperate and reached out to an astrologer to find out what was going on. Then I reached out to another one, and I needed receipts. I needed to make sure this was right. Every single one of them said I was going through something in my chart called a Pluto transit. Pluto, being the planet of death and destruction and rebirth, was going right over my emotional life and my moon. So for 2 years, it was basically this, inner turmoil. And, how do you make a show out of that? Musical comedy. It just seemed like it could be a good, I don't know, just a way to frame a time in life, and then frame emotions and frame experiences, and just I don't know, the way we all kind of are together. If any astrologer will also tell you that right now, America and the world in general is going through a really tough time. And Pluto does feature, I'm not an astrologer myself, but just from what I know, they talk about that. So it was an opportunity to talk about all of us collectively too.
Pluto itself has had a rough time in recent years too, because it's not even considered a planet anymore.
That's also in the show. That's right.
Falls in and out of favor.
Yeah,
for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We do have a big moment coming up, I believe, on April 8th. Just FYI, Tony, and Camille probably knows, since she follows this kind of stuff. We are going to have a full solar eclipse.
Yep.
If people are in the right place at the right time, they can actually, and it's North America, Mexico, North America. So, it's strange times, but you're in the cabaret world now, and you brought joy. You brought a lot of joy to the stage and for the audience that was in the room.
Oh man, I got a lot of joy. It was the best.
I really enjoyed your show.
Thank you.
And I'm just curious, do you have any other dates booked coming up?
No, not at the moment. It was, for me, booking the two in the spring was, it was sort of like a big gamble, because I was really lucky and I had really great audiences the first 3 shows. I wasn't sure how it was going to, go the next 2. I was very pleased with the way those turned out too. So now, I don't know, I'm taking a deep breath. I'm continuing to sing. I'm thinking about what might be next, and I would love to bring this back again. It would be great. I am also a person that, my day job is, I work in the nonprofit world. I'm a director of a community center that serves children and families. And that is a love of mine, and an important part of my life. So it's got to have balance.
Well, and I hope that this award, whoever gets it, by the way, I mean, the category is so great with the 4 of you in it.
Yeah.
You're all winners. But hopefully it'll give you the inspiration to bring this back, and maybe another show. You may have another show in you down the line, because
I'm sure we all do.
It's one of those things.
Clearly.
And also, once we have you in cabaret, we don't we try to hold you in there. We try to keep you as a part of the family. You become part of the whole family and the whole group.
It is an amazing community. It's so supportive. One of the things I love going to shows. I love watching people grow. I see where they were on their last show, and I see where they are now. Going to these classes and seeing people grow, through them is a great joy. I think we're really lucky.
And as Tony and I both know, and as most people, we all agree, it's one of the best things the world gets. Because the moments that we bring, the entertainment and the music is always so basic. It makes everything so much better. It's good for us all to remember that while everything, there may be people that think they're more important than other types of things or whatever, that the people that are doing this work, the music, singing and bringing the music and shows, really give us the soul that without this, we would be very different. We would be very, hopefully
it's love.
With more of it. Yeah.
It's love. That's right.
Better.
That's right.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us here today.
My
We're
pleasure.
going to bring you back on in a little while. We're going to go to our next guest now, Tony.
Yes.
And so this next guest is somebody that I hadn't seen her show, and then I saw the category come up, the New York debut cabaret, and there was this name, Nicole Spano, and I was like, I know the name, but I haven't seen the show. Let me get to see the show, and I did. Let's let everybody else at home see what it is that Nicole does.
Welcome to my house. Tonight is going to be a lot like family dinner. My family just has one requirement. Be Italian. Be Italian. Take the chance and try to steal a fiery kiss. Be Italian. Be Italian. When you hold me, don't just hold me, but hold this. Italian, a shooting star leaping through the sky, like a tiger defying the laws of gravity. I'm a racing car passing by like Lady Godiva. I'm gonna go. There's no stopping me. When the sun shines, we'll shine together. Told you I'll be here forever. Said I'll always be your friend. Took an oath and I'll stick it out to the end. We fell asleep on Nana's porch. I'm gonna take it with me when I go. 'Cause family is family in church or in prison. They'll show up at Christmas, get up in your business. They may not be fancy, but family is family.
Here we go. Hi, Nicole.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun.
I'm very happy to have you here. You brought me a lot of pleasure the night when I got to see your show. Because,
is your family normal in comparison?
Well, listen, no, I don't know. But we have a lot in common. We have a lot in common. I didn't get a chance to write a review for you yet, but I'm going to let you know what I basically have started on, and that is, looking for. This is what I have already. Looking for a ready-made family, slightly dysfunctional and full of laughs and good times. Meet the Spanos. And Nicole Spano introduces us to a atypical bunch of quirky relatives in her show Family Ties. And you did a great job of explaining, the way it was for you. And the thing is that there's so many of us that did grow up in families where, everybody hadn't worked it all out, but we had to figure it out. So you've been around the business. You'd seen different performances, I guess, growing up, got the idea of doing a cabaret show. And how did you land on the idea of really focusing on the family?
So in 2019, I first did Mama's Next Big Act. Maybe that's a lie. I've done it a few times because I think it's one of the most amazing experiences. I think I was a finalist that year, and then I did it with Camille again last year, and we were both semifinalists. And the thing is, like, you get an assignment at a certain point, and you have a week or really a little less than to kind of show up with something.
Right.
And Lenny said the theme for next week will be family. And by that point, I'm learning cabaret is supposed to be very authentic and genuine and storytelling. And as a musical theater performer, you're like, no, it's like, so, but I'm getting into it. And that's where Be Italian that you just saw came from that. And I knew there was something special. The response to it was really great. And then I brought it up to the O'Neill in 2022 when I was a cabaret fellow there and continued to hone on it and work on it. And then I was like, I think there's a show here, because even though not everybody is my family, I think we all know people like this or have been around people like this. And it could be a great way to connect with people that our human experience is all pretty much the same.
Well, certainly in the Northeast, you grew up in Jersey, is that right?
I did, in Hoboken, and I'm still here.
Hoboken is one of those, it's like, one of those places famous for two people that had dysfunction, Frank Sinatra and Jimmy Roselli. Both of them great singers. Both of them grew up on the same block, 10 years apart, yet they didn't get along. They had the Italian thing. And that, growing up in Hoboken and being so close to the city of New York, meaning you could get in and out, and the culture, and it wasn't incredible. I mean, I grew up in Brooklyn. Tony's also from Jersey, right?
Where are you from, Tony?
Oh, kind of all over the state, but mostly in like Morris County.
Oh, cool. I know.
Pine Brook, Kinnelon,
Yeah.
It takes growing up in, it's like a melting pot that can't be compared to anywhere else in the world. We really, we had all kinds of people living tightly together, and we somehow made it and got and built one of the greatest cities in the world, and really a main spot for cabaret, which is so important. So you worked with Tracy Stark and Lenny Watts, and I don't know Tracy's story that well, but I know Lenny had some crazy in his family too. But he's from St. Louis, so any of the big city people.
And Tracy lives in Jersey City, so very close to me, so she's a Jersey girl.
The answer is it connects. Talking about family that way connects, and it was a great and the show, while it was about you and your family, did resonate with a lot of people in the room. Of the songs that you did in the show, were any of them really challenging for you? Or did something that you really had to work to make work? Because you sounded great all the way through.
Thank you.
So that must have taken did anything give you?
The marathon medley is hard because I'm literally running a marathon in heels while trying to sing.
Tony,
so that is hard.
It's unbelievable. You see a little bit of it in that promo. She doesn't stop. I was exhausted, and I was
Queen while you're running.
The performance you came to, Scott, that was like on a Friday. On Sunday, I had to run a half marathon. And on Friday night, I went to bed. I was like, my legs are killing me. How am I supposed to run on Sunday? I just ran on stage for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I was exhausted in the back of the room. I don't know. Firstly, I don't know how you do a quarter marathon, a half a marathon, or a full marathon. So you got it.
When you're running a long distance, it's not really a sprint. It's just supposed to be a talking pace. So you're supposed to be able to carry on a conversation. Right. That's how you know it's the right pace. So singing wasn't that much of a stretch, but it was in 4-inch heels, which was dumb of me, but that's me. I'm so vain. But yeah, so that was probably the most challenging, I would say. But Take It With Me When I Go was also really challenging because it's about my grandmothers who have influenced me and how they're no longer with us. And I can cry even just thinking about it. Like when I first learned that song, I could not get through it without breaking down. And I was like, we have to figure out a way to be there, but like have a cap on it, because I still am. I hear that song and it's just, it triggers something in me.
It's amazing you can get past that when you have that initial reaction to something.
You have to, at some point, but it's still, I still have that reaction to that song every time, no matter who's singing it or how I hear it.
Well, music has that. That's the thing that makes it so special, is that it touches all of those chords in a person. Yeah. Of course, the family being important, the family was happy that you did the show. You have had family attending the show.
They all came. They came back. They now say, like, put that in your show. Like when something happens. the weirdest thing is, like, they're so crazy, but like they don't care that I speak about them. Like they think it's like funny. And I'm like, you guys are really crazy now. But my Nana, this all started because my Nana was such a character. Like she would just say things, and I wanted to capture that, knowing she wouldn't be here forever because I missed the opportunity with my grandmother. That for the last like 10 or 15 years, I was taking videos of her, taking notes of the stories she would tell, because I just knew it was something special and I'd want to hold on to it. And before she passed, I did this Storyworth book thing where I asked a bunch of questions and got her reactions and her responses. And for me, it was a way to have the family live on. And now it's kind of evolved into a cabaret show about all the crazy characters in the family. But it really started with just her, because I'm like, I've never seen anything like this in my life. She's completely full of heart and she's completely off her rocker.
You have all of that video, huh?
Oh, yeah. I have so
there you go.
So much.
There's the second part of the show. Haul that video out and get that multimedia thing going.
Yeah.
One of my grandmother's favorite things that she would say is "None you worry." That was the answer for "Don't you worry." None you worry.
Oh God.
That was what. Not everything was okay. Everything's going to be okay.
Well, yeah, I get it. It could always be worse. And if she doesn't like something, she goes, "Go scratch your ass on a rock." That was her.
Ours was a broken bottle, so we were a little rough around it in Brooklyn. But
okay, similar. You get it.
Yes,
very delicate creatures. These were.
Yeah, but you know what? They came here as immigrants when they all arrived. They built they put things together to build this magical thing that we have, and they didn't take no for an answer, and they brought their spirit for the most part into it. And I mean, that's not just Italians, but all of the all of the different ethnic groups that came, each one layered on the next to make this the big, the melting pot. Some may say a mess, but you know what? It's working its way out, isn't it? So tough times breed tough people, and I can see that you're going to be, working through and bringing some more joy. Do you have any dates coming up? Are you bringing it back to the stage anytime soon?
Not quite yet, but I have a couple of things in the works. Hopefully able to share them soon.
Good. Very happy to listen. I'm glad that we have you here. We're going to go to our next guest now, but we'll be back at the end. We're going to wrap everything up shortly. Okay. Thanks, Nicole.
Thanks, Nicole. See you soon.
Tony, we're rolling right along. I believe, it's nice to see all of these ladies out now in a different environment, but they're pretty much the way that they are here today with us is the way they are on stage. Very authentic. These shows were all, really just perfect to use a cabaret space for.
Yeah.
So the last person coming on is Elvira Tortora, and I loved her show. I wrote about her show because I loved her show. I felt I understood her show. She surprised me with an incredible voice that came out of. I expected to enjoy the show, but I wasn't expecting the voice that I heard. And so let's show that video, and then we'll bring on Elvira.
Sounds good.
They call you Lady Luck, but there is room for doubt. At times you have a very unladylike way of running out. You're on this date with me. The pickings have been lush. And yet, before this evening is over, you might give me the brush. You might forget your manners. You might refuse to stay. And so the best that I can do is pray. Luck.
Of course, luck is a lady. Welcome.
Hi, Scott. Hi, Tony.
How are you?
How are you?
So let's clear up the voice thing. You studied prior to the show. Who did you work with?
Studied prior to the show about 46 years ago, prior to the show.
Okay. And you brushed up with somebody that you worked with.
Well, I did. I brushed up with Celeste
Celeste,
Simone. Yes.
one of the best in the business.
Yes. A friend of mine, Terry Saperstein, who just passed away, said, I think you need to see Celeste Simone, because I had a fashion career and I was retired. And I said, you know what? I think I'd like to start singing theater again. I'd like to be in the theater. I'd like to go. And I went in singing legit. And, you know, maybe the last time I was on stage, I was 26 years old. And after Celeste heard me, she said, you need performance time, and you're older. You need a different way of getting that voice out, and you're not going to sing like you used to sing. Yeah, obviously, I'm that much older, and I'm not going to sing the same songs. And she sent me to Lena Koutrakis.
Right.
And Lena has a wonderful performance advanced class on Saturdays. I audited it, and then I was asked to join, and that was prior to the pandemic. And so the first time I had been on a stage since maybe, you know, when I was 26, was the Don't Tell Mama stage, the Brick Room on a Saturday morning class. And then she basically started working with me to find a whole different kind of voice, a cabaret voice and a cabaret world. And that's how it started. I had no clue what I was getting myself into.
Right.
It's been more than I could possibly have ever thought.
And then you made the choices of the idea of the show, which was that there's a brilliance in that, because I totally related to the show that you had, because I grew up like you in Brooklyn and knew a lot of the it was very familiar to me. So when did you realize this is the show I've got to do? Let me make sure we got that right. We got The Bookmaker's Daughter. And as I said earlier, I think in today's show, we all had a bookmaker somewhere in the neighborhood.
I was listening to some old records, and it just popped into my head that I wanted to listen to some of the things that my parents listened to. And it started with this song, speaking of Jimmy Rosselli and Jerry Vale, My Love Forgive Me, which was my father's favorite song. And I said, you know what, I should really learn that just to see what I sound like. And for whatever reason, thinking about that song just kind of perpetuated into about my dad and what my dad was and how he was a bookmaker. And yet he had this other side of loving music and loving theater and loving the arts. And but obviously the bookmaker part was a lot more interesting. And it just, when I tell you, it just flowed. I sat there day after day and wrote stories. And then I would go to Lena's workshop on Saturdays, and I'd say, this is the story. What do you think about this this song and the songs? And then obviously Lena started working with me, and then Gregory started working with me, and it truly just evolved into this show. I had no idea. I thought if I did it, I would do a few songs and that would be it. But it ended up being 6 shows.
Right. You kept getting extended because the audience were there for it. So one of the things, like the fun things, is the fact that, of course, you're a teenager now growing up, and your father has got his operation, his side gig going, main gig actually. And so you'd have friends come over, right? And you'd have a little cash on the table. You'd have to make sure that you give him the secret knock that you were on your way coming home, so he could put everything away. And
oh yeah, we used to we had the routine when that doorbell rang and he was in the middle of that counting the money.
Right.
Everything stopped. We had to make sure that the door was locked. When we lived on the second floor of this 3-family house, so we had to look out the window and yell down and say, "I'll be right with you. Just wait a minute." Come back and wait until he could get everything put away and hidden.
Right.
Then we were allowed to have our friends up.
And so all people out there in America that watch this show, we're really a New York centric type of an operation here. But so that you all know, I don't want you to think that everybody in Brooklyn was involved in some sort of illegal operation. However, everybody had a little something, and people wanted to place bets on, and the numbers was a big activity, and such a good and busy and solid industry that eventually the government itself decided to take it over. So it's like, we used to, I know that, we got all kinds of stories in the neighborhood. The bookmakers in the neighborhood they were good there for that. They were good for advice. They knew everybody. My father was in the police department on the good side. He knew who the bookmakers were. They operated, their operations were fine because, as long as it wasn't creating an issue, and they weren't, as long as they paid on the bets, all was good.
There was an understanding.
Yeah, and if you knew how to get, if you knew to go to Frankie Fish on Kings Highway in Brooklyn, you knew how to get a nice piece of cod during the war. This is just the way things were in Brooklyn, and it made it a special place because people were creative and people figured out how to survive. And I always reminded when I talk about people from Brooklyn is the fact that when every World War II movie, when everything is going down the tubes and it's the worst possible situation is developed, they usually always turn to one guy that's in the movie and they say, "Brooklyn, what do you think we should do?" And that's the guy that comes up with the solution of how to beat the enemy. So there's a certain spirit that came out of Brooklyn and your father's generation. And I really, like I said, I really enjoyed the show. I hope that you have continue to present it and do it. And I honestly think with this show that you have the potential of to do it in front of a bigger audience because people are fascinated by that period of time in New York and what was going on. And the story has all of those roots. Every one of you that's on the show today gets an A+ on vocals. Every one of you has a different story that you told. It's all been really an enjoyment, a really pleasure to deal with all of the with everything in this category this year. But I want to thank you for coming out of what was, I guess, you had life in between, right? You said you stopped singing for 40 some odd years.
Yes. I'm the oldest, but I'm basically the newbie. I didn't do anything before Lena's class, and really, I haven't sung on another stage.
Lena brings out the best in performers, and as far as I know Lena for a very long time. Saw her as a performer back in the early '80s. She did if you ask her, tell her to show you a video of her when she was at the Ritz. If you haven't seen that,
I have
performing at the Ritz. You have seen that, right?
I have.
That's quintessential Lena.
Yes.
So, Elvira, thank you. I think we're going to be able to bring everybody back on right now to sort of wind up the evening for the evening. It depends on when you're watching this.
It is NiteLife Exchanges after all.
Yeah, it is.
It's always nighttime with us.
Yeah, it's all good. So bring everybody on, Tony. Hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Is all here. Yes, exactly. Just like the Brady Bunch. We love doing this. I want to thank all of you again. The MAC Awards are coming up. A couple of answers to the questions that you wrote up on the side. I do not believe there is a bar. There is one across the street from the theater if you need to go. Otherwise, you pack nobody's going to pat you down. You bring a flask in, dress comfortably. And as far as an after party, I haven't planned one yet. But wherever you go, Let's do that. Let's figure out where we're going to go, because the evening does go long, but you're going to want to go out and celebrate a little bit after. In the old days, we used to have after parties, but as things changed in time, but certainly Don't Tell Mamas is a wonderful place to go, since the fact is that all 4 of these debut shows that put you into this category are coming out of Don't Tell Mama. And we have somebody special we're going to bring on right now as well, and that's Tanya Mobley. So there she is.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
Tanya,
welcome.
Tanya special. You are very special. You and Sydney. You and Sydney have worked to keep. Firstly, Don't Tell Mamas has a long reputation and a lot under its belt there to keep that place operating. You came back after the pandemic. It's going smooth. And then you turn around in 2024, the MAC Awards, you're putting 4 of it's all the female debut, the future of cabaret, at least 50% of it. And by the way, there are more women in cabaret than there are men right now. I noticed that. I see that. And I'm happy about that, because, you got a lot to say, and it's good form to say it. So, Tanya, what does one have to do to get on your radar, to book a show? If somebody's out there and they feel they have a story and something to say and they want to get it, what's the best approach to getting involved in the process?
Contact me. So you can email me at Tanya@don'ttellmamanyc.com, or you can email booking@don'ttellmamanyc.com, or just call or text me 646-637-2806. I'd be happy to chat with you and hook you up. It is the greatest place in the world. I've been singing there for 26 years. I'm there because of Sydney Meyer, who's been the booking director there for 40 years. I've been a booking manager with Sydney for about 5 years, and some of that was during COVID. So it's my honor and pleasure to book there. It's a place that I perform and direct. And all 4 of these ladies, you guys are amazing. I've seen all of your shows, and we are so proud to have you represent us for Don't Tell Mama at the MAC Awards.
And the one thing nice also, Tanya, is you give advice to people that can create, if they need to come in do open mic work, or they need to, to get those first experiences, like going into some of the competitions and all of that. You have access and know everybody that's on all the levels to bring somebody. So don't worry about not being ready.
Not at all. And yes, I do have an opinion. I have a few opinions, and I'm happy to help. And I love to nurture talent. I was actually one of the permanent judges for Mama's Next Big Act until they hired me as a booking manager. Then it was a conflict. So I passed off that. But it was such a treat to judge that contest for 4 years straight. And yeah, I mean, I love talents. And I ran the salon for 15 years. I love to see people develop. So everyone has a place, and I'm happy to help anybody find that place. But get up on stages and perform. That's the best advice I can give you.
And Tanya is a great example of the importance of recusal. If only more people in this country understood it, would be in a really great place. So thank you for setting the example.
Do I need to recuse myself? I want to recuse myself. I went into Don't Tell Mamas before it was Don't Tell Mamas. Rob Hoskins, who was with Irv Rabel, the originators of created Don't Tell Mamas, brought me there one night when it was still a dance club and said, "This is going to be the new cabaret room." My first professional gig in cabaret was actually cleaning all the mirrors at Mama's, which there's a lot of them. I would go in on a Saturday afternoon and I'd make sure that everything shined. And then I recently did a show there. I came back with my group and did a show there. And Tanya is amazing to work with. So we really want to send the message out there, folks. If you've got a song in you and a show, or you don't know, whatever, it's time in 2024, it can be done. And the world needs this, what we do. This is what the world needs more than anything else.
Absolutely.
Whether it's a show that goes back and looks at something from the past, like Eden's show brilliantly does, whether it's a show that shows a family through Camille's eyes with getting through and surviving and making it into the next part of this past the pandemic and all of that, a show like Nicole's where you learn how to deal with crazy uncles and family. And then you have Elvira's story coming back after a long time of not performing and actually doing what you love. The one thing like I said a moment or two ago, you all have an A+ on vocals. You all created wonderful shows, and this is an incredible category. I want to just wrap it up. The real question I want to just send the last message out to people out there is, for each one of you in alphabetical order, when did you realize, when was the moment that you realized there was something like cabaret?
Starting with me?
Eden.
Okay. Yes. When there was something like cabaret. And back in college, I'd heard about it, in music school. But it was seeing Faith Prince, I think, do her show, and then seeing Ida Zecco here in Rhode Island do one of her shows. I think that I'm working with Jim Rice for the first time. I think that was really it. So different.
Mentors.
Yeah, mentors. And so personal, so direct, such great communication. And it was just intoxicating to watch those people at the top of their game just sharing deeply, but not in a confessional, way. I realized what a special art form cabaret is, and I think we all have mistaken it at different times in our life. Kind of like you call tissues Kleenex, right? You just call cabaret cabaret. Everybody thinks they know what it is, but then when you actually see one done by these ladies here, then you realize what a special art form it is. And it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of dedication, but it's so worth it.
Camille? How do you...
the first time I became the first time I became aware of cabaret was probably when I was a child watching, I was too young to be staying up for Saturday Night Live, but watching Bernadette Peters do her things, on Saturday Night Live when she hosted, there was just a very much like who dat kind of, experience about, what is this? It's a woman by herself, being a little racy, speaking her truth, singing amazingly. She's the center of attention. It was the first time I really became aware that there was something beyond the movies, something beyond theater, something that was that personal and that expressive and that starry. I was just completely fascinated. When I came to New York, I became aware of the cabaret scene pretty quickly, but it was as an audience member and occasionally as a participant, when somebody would ask me to maybe just sing a song as a part of a thing. It never occurred to me to do my own show really until, I came, maybe in 2012, I took my first cabaret class with Helen Baldessari. You remember her?
Yeah, Helen.
But it was, I didn't really think about doing a show until much later. It takes some time, I think, to get into your blood and to make you really feel, you need the time to come to the decision that that you have something to say, that you're capable, and that what you have to say means something and can resonate with others. And it wasn't until I had that, that feeling that I was ready to go. So I'm very grateful for the cabaret scene and the community.
Nicole.
So I first heard of cabaret like 15 years ago. I would read Backstage newspaper, right? I was searching for auditions, and there was something for a cabaret show or like at the Duplex, and you had to sing 3 songs, you had to sell a bunch of tickets, and that's all with patter in between. And so I didn't really know what that was as a musical theater kid, right? You just go and audition and you look like everybody else and you sound like everybody else. So I called my mom's friend who had been doing cabaret in this show called The Songbird Show every year at Don't Tell Mama for like 20 years. And I said, Melanie, what do I do? Like, I don't know. I know you do this. I've never seen one. And she said, you have to be yourself. You have to tell your truth, tell your story. The audience will see right through it. And then I told a story about myself, and it was kind of funny. And it was the first time I was able to be myself on a stage. And I said, this is like where I want to be. And I spent the next decade trying to figure out what the opportunities are to learn and grow in that world, because I knew at that moment that was something special.
Elvira.
So for me, cabaret years and years ago was Barbara Cook. And she was on a great big scale because she was someone I loved listening as a theater person who became a cabaret singer. And so that was in my mind. But actual cabaret, going to Don't Tell Mama, going to the Triad, going to Pangea, for me is happening now. I know it sounds crazy, but I didn't know much other than Cafe Carlisle, because I had that kind of idea. But I've never really saw cabaret until the last few years, where I've witnessed actually my fellow singers doing cabaret. And because of that, it just opened up a whole new world for me. To be this age and to still have something that you can be totally mesmerized by is just an absolute gift. So that's the truth.
Well, you've given Tony and I the gift today of being here with us.
Sure have.
I know that Tanya feels the same way as I do, very proud to be a part of the cabaret community. No, they say community. It is a community. Don't have a problem with using that word at all. And you brought a lot of ability, talent, and pizzazz in what you did on those stages. And I hope that more people, those people that you were mentioning as mentors, if you're doing this long enough, then you're going to be the people that those newer people coming in. And it really is about passing this down. And it's been about this since the beginning of time, when those first cave people sat down around a fire and started telling stories and entertaining each other. This is the essence of it, where really it's a connection, a human connection that's so important now that there's nothing we could say that would, yet we have to remind people how important this is.
And those stick drawings were like posters on the wall.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And we'll see you at the MAC Awards. Again, Tony, when are those? Those are coming up on April 15th.
Woo!
Symphony Space at 7 p.m. I'm looking forward to seeing all of you there. Again, Julie Miller is at macnyc.org, I believe, and .com. People, if you haven't joined, if you haven't seen these shows, get to them when they're appearing again or whatever. If you've seen these shows and you're a MAC member, know that no matter which one of these shows you vote for in this category, you're voting for a winner. No matter who wins this category, every single one of you is a winner. And we really appreciate this year. 2024 has been an exceptional year for this category, and for female women using this cabaret, the experience of cabaret, to really educate and raise the level of everything that's going on in the world. So we really appreciate it. Tony, we have those end credits that we can run, and so have a good night, everybody. He's going to take you off one at a time, I think. And Tony, good to see you, my friend. We did good today. It was a lot to do.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
everybody. Congratulations.
Nice seeing everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
See you. Great.